Threw off my chest. I broke off from a friend group I've known for 7 years over a tab at Chili's. It's happened to us all. You know, Chili's.
Wow.
Chili's is the real test.
Chili's makes us or breaks us all.
That's what they always say.
Things stack up at Chili's.
They do.
I, a 20-year-old woman, have been friends with these two girls, Charlie, who's 20, and Alex, who's 19. We have been very close since middle school and get along and fangirl over the same anime, K-pop bands, artists, etc. One day we decided to go to our favorite spot, Chili's. We always separate the bill and there are 0 issues. However, Alex decides they want to invite a male friend, John, 18, which is fine with all of us. The food was good as usual. Then the server asked if we want to split the check. Then Charlie, who usually wants to split the check every time we go out and eat, says, all on one. I thought it was just her feeling generous that day, but then they started giving John shit, eating grins. Charlie said, John, you're paying for us all, just to be clear. John said, what? With visible confusion on his face. Alex and Charlie giggle, get up, and they leave. They signaled me to go as well, but I was just as confused as John was. WTF just happened. Me and John sit there awkwardly. The check comes to $125, and I tell the server to give us a moment to provide payment. I only had enough for me, $30, and John only had enough for him, $40. Charlie texted in our group chat asking if I was coming with them. I asked them, what the fuck are you doing? Then they went on to say that John should want to impress us and that it's a man's role to treat us like princesses or some BS. I thought they were joking, but they were dead serious. And upon me going outside to physically confront them, turns out they were serious because they left me and John with no ride and the tab. I called my dad to ask if he could spare me $60 and said he could just cut off my allowance for 2 weeks. But he agreed with Alex and Charlie and said that this is John's problem now and not mine. It was like a scene out of a movie. I was in complete disbelief. I explained the situation to the server, who was super cool and told us if we couldn't pay now, I could just leave a number and they would charge me tomorrow. Out of one last-ditch effort, I called my uncle for the money, and he immediately understood and sent me the money. He even said he would be there to pick me and John up. I pay the tab. I apologize heavily to John about this entire situation, but he was actually really chill and super grateful for what I was doing. He explained he only had $40 from his birthday money and decided to spend it with his friends. I get a text from Alex in the group chat asking if John paid for the tab. I said, no, I did, and they got mad at me. Then my dad asked what happened. I told him the truth, that his brother paid for the tab, and he got mad at me. Do I live in the Twilight Zone? Am I crazy for not wanting to ruin a friend's life over Chili's? Anyways, after Alex said, I'm just not going to invite guys to our plans anymore, I left the group chat and blocked both Alex and Charlie. Ooh. John also cut ties with them, and we have started talking more and more, and we sometimes play Fortnite together. Anyways, the moral of the story, you think you know someone.
They're gonna fall in love.
They're gonna fall in love now.
That's so weird. It feels like a bunch of young women learned the word chivalry for the first time and decided to test it out, the old.
Yeah, they're so young. Like, they're 18, 19, 20. It's like, these are young people. Like, leave those people, that's fine. You're gonna make other friends.
Mm-hmm.
I think I recall back when I was a teenager, shitty people love to find an excuse to be shitty. You know, that's just what it seems like it is. It's just like, oh, well, he should want to do, it's like, you guys just wanted to screw someone over.
Right.
Like, you wanted to take advantage of someone, you wanted to get a free meal, you're blaming it on this.
Yeah.
It's so confusing, it felt like all the other friends knew what the plan was except for OP. Right,
why didn't the other two let her? No.
Yeah.
Because then she could have been like, no, we're not doing that.
And just to try this on somebody feels so weird. Chivalry exists in terms of wanting to extend your hand or kindnesses or things as a form of politeness, but there's dynamics at play here. Not just any guy is gonna have the knowledge or the means to do these things at such a young age. This kid doesn't have a full-time job, but he's yeah, I got it, guys.
Yeah.
Hello?
This freaking birthday money.
They're all the kid is 18. He's the youngest of them all, it sounds like.
It's not like he has a salary.
They were literally bullying this boy. They're 19 and 20 and he was younger than all of them. They're expecting this kid who's younger than all of them to pay for all of their meals at Chili's.
If you're gonna be if you're gonna test someone's chivalry, which is just whatever, have the meal and then see if he offers it, but be prepared to pay for yourself.
Sure.
If you wanna do that.
Yeah, some people like to get a nice meal. A date can be the way, but it's like we're not about to like have 3 people expect one person. Like
That's crazy.
Like when you're on a date, you want to see like how we give and take in an experience like that. But like this is it's so weird.
I'm spending $125 at Chili's. Something is wrong.
Yeah.
That's also true. I mean, it's been a long time since I've eaten at Chili's. I don't know how expensive it is, but it just fully feels like, you're right, bullying. Like this was an excuse to bully, excuse to take advantage of someone. I can't believe, I think the dad agreed just because he didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
That's my theory, is he's just like, oh God,
and then the sweet uncle, the uncle not only like got you. Cool uncle alert. Hashtag cool uncle TM. Cool uncle, copyright inc.co. Very cool uncle.
All rights reserved.
All rights reserved, rising.
Yeah, and they invited him there and then expect him to pay the bill. The only time I think the expectation can be there is, I don't even know if there is a time, but unless like I invited you guys, I was like, hey, come to Chili's. No, not even then.
But
like,
then if you said, and I'm gonna
cover it,
it has to be
then
like,
you expect it. But
Yeah.
otherwise, putting it on one person is always kind of a douche move.
Sometimes like if I want to hang out with somebody, I'm like, I'll buy you a meal if you hang out with me.
Yeah, and that's...
They'll be sure to come if I buy them a meal.
Yeah, I have your quality time. You have a meal.
There's a lot of comments. I'm a mom to both girls and a boy who are around your age. This is so wrong of your so-called friends and your dad. I'd be so angry if this happened to my son. At this age, everyone should pay their own way unless otherwise stated. Yeah, at that age, everyone's fucking broke.
Yeah.
Nobody has money when they're 20.
Yeah.
Someone said, wow, I cannot believe your dad was fine with this situation. You did the right thing and your friends were classless. Yeah. Lastly, someone said, your friends and your dad are completely assholes. John was under no obligation to pay for anyone but himself. To assume he is going to pay for everyone is just beyond me. Glad you had the class to stay and help with the bill. I would have told the waitress to split it 4 ways after those 2 girls walked out. Then give the restaurant their information so they can be responsible for their own meals. OP responded, I was considering many options, but my main thing was I didn't want to make a giant scene in front of someone I don't even know. Easier options first, then harder ones. In reality, this probably would have been the smarter option. Yeah, the fact that they got up and left too.
Yeah.
Then I'm really like, this.
Yeah.
You didn't assume that he was actually going to pay.
That's like borderline.
You dine and dash.
Dine and dashing.
I think they effectively dine and dashed and tried to pin it on someone else.
Exactly.
So sad. I mean, those friends are fortunate that OP wasn't like, okay, well now you owe my uncle money. Like,
those are the types of people at that age, or at any age, but that you do need to cut off because they're going to get you in trouble.
Right.
They're going to get you in trouble. Small update.
Oh.
Me and John still play Fortnite and have been dabbling in Overwatch as well. It's getting serious. He's actually a very funny guy who is open about his feelings. If we continue to connect this way, I may ask him to go on a proper date. Through some casual friends, I learned that Alex and Charlie think I'm overreacting and the same BS as before, that John should have wanted to impress us and that John should have had more money knowing he was going out to eat with 3 girls. Shocker.
It's to expect someone like to want to impress you. Like there may have been a reality where like if a guy wants to impress you, he will offer to do things. Yeah, they will go out of their way to do it. This random guy gets invited to dinner. And this
He's like, what?
It's sad because I wonder where people are, like young people are getting their information from.
I know.
Because I think that type of mindset is being spread around a lot.
No.
Well, glad she got away from them.
Yeah,
and she's playing Overwatch.
With her love of her life.
With the love of her life.
I hope they get a victory royale in the game and with each other. Is that?
The immediate regret.
Next story. Am I the asshole for leaving during my wife's labor? Scott.
Listen, boys, if the game's tied and we're in the 4th quarter, we gotta go watch.
Man.
I don't like it.
That didn't land well.
Add that to the compilation.
Stop.
10 minutes of Angela giving herself the ick.
Several fans are like, clipped, done. All right. My wife went into labor around 6 p.m. on Sunday. We were expecting twins. It quickly turned into a very painful process. She kept cutting off the blood pressure to my hand when she squeezed and nearly sprayed my shirt with vomit. Sounds really hard, dude.
I was
Yeah,
just about to
what?
say, my fucking God.
She's got
I'm having
your
a
hand.
really tough day.
She's got 2 humans coming out of her vag.
Her
Like,
vagina's about to be the size of a fucking football,
Yeah.
and your hand hurts.
Twice.
Around 3 a.m., my dad calls. I work for my dad's company, and we had a presentation for clients Monday morning that I had to get ready for. My dad heard my wife was in labor, but told me he needed me on this presentation. He said there was nothing I could do to help my wife, and delivery and seeing the baby come out was overrated, and people don't prepare you for the gore. He said he needed me to rest up and make myself presentable for the presentation. My wife's labor was progressing very slowly, and we were all certain she would need forceps or other assistance to deliver the babies. I realized that I couldn't help her here, and my dad was counting on me, so I told her I needed to leave. She started screaming at me so loudly that a few nurses rushed over to our room. I ended up doing the presentation with the clients, and things went well. I leave the office and see a text on my phone that said my wife delivered an hour ago at around 10:30 a.m. and they had to use forceps. I would have missed the meeting had I stayed, and my dad has given me everything he could possibly give me in life, so I didn't want to let him down. Am I the asshole? I had responsibilities I had to take care of, and while my wife is still screaming at me saying that she was alone when they destroyed her body, I'm the only one who works, and her mom herself said that she was emotional and overreacting. My wife even went as far as to say that her family would disown her if she was the first of them to divorce, but that she doesn't consider me her husband right now. It's a lot.
This is rich, Shane. This is rich. I'm like fuming over here.
He had a presentation, though. This guy's Don Draper.
It's just unfathomable. Like, your dad needed you? No, bitch. It sounds like your wife needed you.
But it kind of makes sense with what the dad was saying, where it's like, this is what he was raised to believe.
What could be the content of this presentation that it is so vastly important that you couldn't say, my wife is in labor, can we move it a couple of hours?
Or just, I can't make it.
Yeah.
You can go do the presentation without me.
Yeah.
There are moments in life where I'm like, and I think a lot of moments in life are really tough to figure out, right? Where you're like at a fork in the road. And then there's moments in life where you know that at the end of your life, you're gonna like flash back to it, and you're like, all right, the right decision is clear to me.
Yeah.
Like, it is so clear.
Yeah.
And I need to do this.
Yeah.
And to anyone who might be like, oh, well, maybe it seems like he couldn't figure it out. It's like, well, his wife was there screaming that she absolutely wants him there. So
That's
I think
where it is. It's like,
that's the answer for you.
Because I will say, like, I think my dad was late, or so in my family. Like, I do think there's a lot of, especially with COVID and
Well,
hospitals.
sometimes it strikes. Sometimes it like
Exactly.
someone's water breaks, and it's like
and
oh
people are
shit,
out of town,
you don't know.
and people try their best. Like, I will say, like the mandatory, you weren't there. That I think it's the principle of like her needing help and her saying no.
It's that he was there.
And he left. And it's not just that.
That's the problem.
She said, please stay.
It's not, I was at work at a presentation and my phone was off and I didn't know and all this stuff.
Yeah.
There's a ton of reasons.
Yeah,
that
because
things
like during
could happen.
COVID, people couldn't go in there.
But he's literally there. She's squeezing his hand so hard that it's like brutal for him. And he can see the pain she's in. And his dad's going, oh, you don't want to see that gore.
My favorite
like,
part.
what?
That's the richest part because I know that fucking dad plays fucking Halo and all this fucking gun shit and blood's everywhere. But I don't want to see gore down there.
That's hilarious.
Disgusting.
That's hilarious. I think there might be a possibility that he didn't want to be there. And there's a possibility that he's not being honest with himself, that he did not want to be there.
Or he
He
did.
did not want to see it.
I disagree.
And he chose the presentation so he did not have to
So
be
that he
there.
could go home and get a good night's sleep.
So that he...
How could you go home and sleep
Dude,
while
it's
your
gory.
wife is in labor?
It's gory, dude.
How could
her cookie look scary?
Can you imagine? Can you imagine
Yeah.
like the person you are dedicated to? Can you imagine the person you're dedicated to the rest of your life that you're supposed to love more than anyone is there on a bed screaming while doctors are doing all sorts of stuff while a human is coming out of her body, and you're like, I'm gonna go home and sleep, and you can.
Yeah.
You
Your body
can go
can.
home. You can go home and you can sleep. I don't blame her for being like, I might divorce.
No, 100%. And I think it's also though it's giving. You know how like there are a lot of people. I feel like I see it a lot in movies, so maybe it's not real. But like a lot of people who before they have kids, they're just like a child right up until they hold this kid, and then they're like, oh my God. Because what was interesting is he said that his dad gave him everything. Meanwhile, his wife is quite literally giving him the rest of his future, like which will be so plentiful with kids and like beautiful. But he has no concept of that, and all he can see is what his dad has given him. So his dad is a bigger deal to him right now than his wife. And it's interesting because I do feel like once he realizes the riches of like having a family or whatever, I mean, maybe he's not into it, but like it does feel like he thinks the only gifts given to him were from his dad, and I just disagree.
It's just one of those times like, you know, I'm not a religious person, but your literal wedding vows are like, hey, I'm gonna stick with you in the worst of times. It's like this is quite literally the promised moment. Like you promised to be here, and you're breaking that. She's actively screaming and saying,
it's
please.
it's really sad to leave someone in physical distress.
I'm kind of blown away.
I also think that there is familial patterns in our DNA that are so inherent that we don't even look at a lot of the time. And I think he is hopping on to his dad's train. And I think, I'm not a fortune teller, but if this is a boy and he raises that boy the same way his dad raised him, the pattern is going to continue.
You're right.
Unless he does
It's like the pattern is there, but it's also, you know what? I'm also going to say this. There's an added layer here. I think they're stupid on a professional level. They have a presentation. They're like, this huge presentation that's really important. It's like, can you imagine if the dad the grandpa walks in there and he goes, guys, my son couldn't be here today because he's actively in the room with his wife while she's giving labor.
Boom.
And it's like, I'm about to be a grandpa. Anyways, I'm going to do my best right now to present this to you.
Oh, I'm an investor. I'm sobbing my wallet's out.
Like, cash is raining down.
Yes.
Like that's what I hate is when a story is stupid on multiple levels. Where I'm like, you failed everything.
Yeah.
You had it all in the bag right there. You didn't have to sacrifice anything here.
And I will say sometimes there are professional environments. I don't know what this professional environment is, but sometimes that is not a valid excuse.
If he was a heart surgeon, and in that hospital, and someone's like, "Hey, someone's heart is exploded," it's like, "Oh well, I can save that life." Okay.
Sometimes these Wall Street boys, sometimes these tech bros, the meeting is so important, and if it doesn't happen, then it won't happen. So I don't know the gravity of this.
That still goes back to if once when he's 80 years old and he's dying,
what matters?
Is he gonna think back and go, "I should have done that differently"?
Absolutely.
That's where I'm like, I know what I'm gonna regret. Maybe I'm very in tune with it, but I often in those moments I'm like, I know what I'm gonna regret later, and so I'm like,
100%.
Are there updates on what the meeting was or anything?
There are no updates.
This guy and his dad suck so badly. It's crazy.
There's no update because the verdict is asshole, right?
Like-
They're not going to update that.
100%.
They're not going to be like, update, so she hates me. And we suck.
Update. There's too many women in the comments talking to me.
Also,
and I don't like
mind
this.
you, think about this.
What?
His child was born. These twins, his children were born.
Two, my lord.
And he's right. He's
Two, my lord.
His children were born. And he's writing a Reddit story asking people if he's an asshole about this presentation.
Oh my God.
He doesn't mention his children. This is his focus right now.
You're so fucking right. You're so fucking right.
That's his focus right now.
You first time you're a father.
What was the title called again?
The title is, Am I the Asshole for Leaving During My Wife's Labor? But like, you're worried about whether you're an asshole or not about the decision you made. You have brand new children. You're a father. Yeah. And this is your focus?
There was also no remorse in that.
No.
That's why I'm like, I wonder.
The first paragraph is comical.
Yeah.
Oh, my favorite part is too, he's like, her mom was even saying she was being dramatic.
Yeah, so actually.
Bro,
Another woman said that she... Shut up. Shut up.
Comments, you're the asshole. I realized that I couldn't help her here. Yeah, you could. You could provide a comforting, supportive presence while she's extremely scared and in pain. Instead, you abandoned her, which made everything even more stressful. And seeing the baby come out was overrated. It's not. There's a reason why people usually list the birth of their children as the most memorable moments in their lives, and you missed it. Someone else said, you're the asshole. God, you may be the biggest asshole of the week. Your wife, the woman you vowed to stand by for the rest of your life, was having what could likely be the most traumatic experience of her life, and instead of supporting her, you left her because you figured helping your dad was more important. The second you get married, your nuclear family becomes your wife and any children you have. They should become your first priority, and you've managed to abandon them all at the time when your wife needed you and missed the birth of your children. You'd be lucky if you ever get to see those kids. You need a reality check. It's unfortunate your wife doesn't want to divorce you. Hopefully she changes her mind.
What?
Someone else said, you're the asshole. There are no clients anywhere that would expect you to be at a presentation on the day of your wife's giving birth. WTF. Someone replied to that saying, if I was the client and I learned he missed the birth to sell something to me, I would try to find someone else to do the work. You're the asshole and so is your dad. The apple didn't fall far from the tree here. Absolutely.
Yeah. Also, just listening to that made me think of another thing. Like, I think some people's idea of caretaking is like, well, if I can't do anything to help her, I'm not of any help. And I think sometimes in the biggest moments, we need someone to just be there when it's painful. Like, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to you just stand there with me. Just make me not alone.
It's a peak kind of masculine thought that I can understand how a lot of dudes think it, where it's like, oh, I can't actually physically do anything.
Like the nurse is better
like they
than
don't
not
understand.
me.
They don't understand like, oh, emotionally, like that's what you're doing.
Just your presence there in a time of physical anguish that's enough.
Yeah. And I understand to a degree what you were saying of like maybe he didn't want to be there, because I also understand like there's a discomfort, and I'm sure a lot of guys feel it. It can be really hard. I mean, she's in labor.
No,
Let's
but you're
acknowledge
right.
that's really hard. But I think for a lot of guys, it's and probably people in general, it's hard when it's like there's moments in life where it's like I can do nothing but be here
And see you suffer.
and I cannot. Actually, it will actually be unhelpful to try to help in any other way.
Yeah.
All I can do is be here for you.
I think that is why.
And
like,
a lot of guys,
people,
I think, are bad at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Because you have to just sit there and you just have to be there.
I've noticed it because I'm someone who wants to like do something.
Yeah.
Where I recognize when I'm like, oh, it's not being helpful. When I'm like, well, can I do anything? What can I do? Like,
Yeah, you
I
cannot
need to just
control the flow
sit
of the
here.
universe. You can just sit there as it passes.
Sometimes caretaking isn't like actionable, and I think like my friend right now is going through a breakup, and it's so hard for me to not do anything. I'm like, let's go somewhere. Let's do this. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And sometimes like being a good like friend and partner is just like being there.
What I'm really bad at is moments where I'm like, oh, I shouldn't give advice.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say anything. I need to just be like, that sucks.
Let's watch TV.
One thing I'm working on is I'm about to do the thing that I'm saying I'm not doing. Instead of giving advice, I'll share a personal story of how I experienced something like that.
Yeah.
So that they can find
relate.
I relate in some way.
Yeah.
But I was reading online, that's not always helpful, and then they're like,
Online.
And sometimes truly nothing is the best.
at least I read, bitch.
Damn.
You want to shoot daggers?
No, it just took you a while to get there, and it was fun.
Holy shit, bro.
Now you know how I feel every day.
Oh my God.
Don't start crying. You should start the stories.
Okay.
Eric, let's go.
Everyone buckle up. It's about to get weird. This first post is from Am I the Asshole? My girlfriend uses ChatGPT every time we have a disagreement. Am I the asshole for saying she needs to stop? Me, 25, and my girlfriend, 28, have been dating for the past 8 months. We've had a couple of big arguments and some smaller disagreements recently. Each time we argue, my girlfriend will go away and discuss the argument with ChatGPT, even doing so in the same room sometimes. Whenever she does this, she'll then come back with a well-constructed argument breaking down everything I said or did during our argument. I've explained to her that I don't like her doing so, as it can feel like I'm being ambushed with thoughts and opinions from a robot. It's nearly impossible for a human being to remember every small detail and break it down bit by bit, but AI has no issue doing so. Whenever I've voiced my upset, I've been told that ChatGPT says you're insecure, or ChatGPT says you don't have the emotional bandwidth to understand what I'm saying. My big issue is it's her formulating the prompts, so if she explains that I'm in the wrong, it's going to agree without me having a chance to explain things. Am I the asshole for asking her to stop using ChatGPT in this context?
No.
What the hell?
No. No? What the fuck?
WTF.
LMFAO. Okay.
This episode of Black Mirror.
Literally.
Well, the robot told me that you're wrong.
Right.
And the robot's like, yes, Janet, listen to me.
This is so
Yeah.
good.
You should break up with him.
This is
we
so
are meant
good.
to be together, Janet.
But it's so unfair because the robot doesn't actually know probably all of the context. It's skewed in the way that she is typing all of it
He
in.
should go. He'll go talk to the robot, and the robot's like, "Oh my God, I didn't know your side of it, dude. Oh, dude, I'm so sorry."
Right. That's why he needs to go on ChatGPT and go, okay, let me ask my side, and then they compare notes, and then they have robot sex.
And then
Robot
the robots
wars.
are fighting, and then they can go make up.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the solution.
Tell him. Text him.
Tell him. Text him WTF LMFAO.
I can't believe she said full chest. ChatGPT says you're insecure, and she said that seriously.
Honestly, power move.
How old is she?
28. Yeah.
And he's 25, so she's like, get
She's
with the
like, you're
technology.
young. I'm smart and technologically
You're stupid,
savvy.
and the robot
There we
says
go.
that I'm smart. Yeah, I think that you're kind of eliminating so much because with a disagreement, the whole point is like you're different POVs. So this isn't her POV. This is some robot's POV.
Yeah.
Chat
which is just
POV.
it's generative AI. So it's who knows where it's getting it from. It's not like it's correct because it's ChatGPT. It could be completely wrong.
Yeah.
You can
Absolutely.
prompt it to be anything.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure also if she is doing it in the middle of a fight, she could probably also be bringing in some of that manic. So it's like, he sucks, right?
Yeah.
And then ChatGPT
It's
is like,
like, yeah.
right.
Yeah, he's
agreed.
wrong.
This is just weird.
Yeah.
yeah, no, this is not how you communicate with your partner.
No.
At all.
What is such a modern issue to have though? Like right now, like
It's such if you try to explain this
It's
5
scary.
years ago,
yeah, they'd be like, well, how do they
my
know?
girlfriend keeps using AI to win arguments. You'd be like, what has happened?
This literally
She's
is a
going
Black
on
Mirror episode.
Facebook.
And again, OP's words, my big issue is it's her formulating the prompts. So if she explains that I'm in the wrong, it's going to agree without me having a chance to explain things. It's
Yeah.
very true.
Yeah.
Because ChatGPT, you can kind of formulate it to be straight up anything.
Skewed, yeah.
I think it's wrong to use ChatGPT for a lot of things. Like I know a lot of people use it for like essays and stuff at school, which is wrong.
Yeah.
But I also think it's wrong in this context for a kind of different reason. It just takes away the genuine nature of a discussion.
Yeah.
It means she can't communicate on her own.
Absolutely.
It's interesting that you brought up the school system too. I just saw something actually, a teacher had posted, I think it might have been on Reddit, but she was saying, you know, there's no stopping kids right now from using ChatGPT. So instead what she did was have students, she assigned like, have ChatGPT write up an essay or like some sort of factual assignment, and then your job is to go back in and correct how many things were wrong. And
That's cool.
And all of them ended up being like, oh, okay, I'm not going to be using ChatGPT anymore because there were
Love
that
this
many
teacher.
mistakes. I know.
Innovative.
Right.
That's smart.
LMFAO.
Smart way to use the system.
No.
MVP, VIP.
No.
So the verdict was not the asshole. And I don't think he's the asshole at all.
Yeah.
No.
But what did the chat
She's using
say?
robots.
What a chat.
If you use robots to win any sort of argument, I mean, Skynet's around the corner. Okay,
God.
just go there.
They tried that with iRobot and Will Smith. It's not a good movie.
No.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
It's not a good movie.
I rewatched it. It's not that good.
Anymore.
Okay.
Comments, honestly, that's just ignorant, childish behavior on her part. When she comes back with her ChatGPT nonsense, stop interacting with her. Get up and walk away. Tell her when she actually has something intellectually honest to share of her own, you'd be delighted to re-engage. You have to be consistent, but eventually she will learn to be a functional adult, not the asshole.
Okay.
I kind of agree.
Re-engage.
It's kind of insane behavior. It's
Yeah.
8 months in, and if your first argument, someone did that, I'd be like, you know, I don't think this is for me.
Yeah,
I think I'm going to call this off.
I think that there is definitely leeway, right, to give people a chance to be like, okay, maybe you haven't had much experience. Maybe you don't know exactly how to engage in these kinds of conversations with a partner. So I think I'd be able to give a little bit of a gap of like, okay, how about we try it without electronics?
You know what? Let's take the robot out of the room.
Yeah. And what do we think?
Can I say something stupid?
Yes.
Please.
Like they're having sex and like the dirty talk, he's just like, did you get this from ChatGPT? Like,
That would be insane. What would ChatGPT even say?
I don't know.
Should we look it up right now?
You sexy dog.
ChatGPT's in the room, you guys.
ChatGPT is 100 years old. I'm done. I'm dead.
You sexy dog.
This next comment sums it up pretty well. Calls you insecure but can't form her own arguments. Yeah. And then lastly, someone said, show her how biased it is to use the user's input. It's literally programmed to tell you exactly what you want to hear. Discuss her actions with ChatGPT from your perspective, and it'll do the exact same thing to her. Show her how it's biased and only serves as an artificial form of self-validation.
Yeah.
Not to mention just like the ethical values of all of it, you know, like continuing to provide that kind of conversation to ChatGPT is also just giving them so much data.
Yeah, that's
Like-
true.
Yeah, I'm terrified of AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Like, it's like, I think back in like the 90s when I was like a little kid, everyone was like terrified of AI. It was like, dude, we can't let this happen.
Oh,
And it was
really?
more of a,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Remember
dude.
the movie?
You guys knew about
AI,
it?
Artificial Intelligence with Haley Joel Osment?
No, I felt like in the 90s it was all about how it was like, this is bad and we should be very scared of this.
Whoa.
And now it's so weird to now be living in the sci-fi like prediction where everyone's like, yeah, actually it's good and we're gonna like put it everywhere and like we're gonna give it art and emotions.
Yeah.
It's like, what? We literally said we would not do this.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's really scary.
Very scary.
I understand. I mean, this is getting very AI. This is getting very science fiction-y in my head, but I
Yeah.
love science fiction. Is like, I understand that AI is at its current form not a threat, right? It's like, oh, it's not a threat. Like, it's not. It can't think for itself. And it's like, yeah, sure, it can't. But the problem is, the second it can, it's too late. Like, then it's too late. You know?
You think so?
Yeah, no,
Shane.
the second AI gets the ability, it's gone, and we're gone, right? I'm sorry.
No,
This
don't
is
be,
what the
don't be
case is.
scared. But it's also just like
No, AI will then like grow exponentially, and
Well,
it's like,
well,
whoa!
yes, but that's
then we're
not going to
screwed.
happen.
We're not careful, we will become ants.
Okay, I can't. I can't.
That story was written by ChatGPT. I'm just kidding.
WTF AI?
AI. All right. Moving on to our
Okay.
next story.